We follow the food prices here pretty closely these days, and they saw a bit of a bump in the latest read on inflation this week. While the prices of some meats like beef did trend lower, fresh veggies and preserved fruits rose by more than 7%. So who do we talk to when we talk about food prices? Let's break down what's happening in the produce and food aisles. It's food professor, director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, Sylvain Charlebois. Good to see you, Professor, this morning. Appreciate you joining us here. It was interesting to see the latest inflation numbers. Food inflation kind of on the rise again, not like we've seen maybe a year or so ago when we've spoken to you. But what happened over the last month here to cause prices to kind of go the wrong way, I think, for consumers anyway?
Yeah, we're above the sweet spot, as I call it, from 1.5 to 2.5%. You want food inflation to be in that area. Now we're at 2.7%, which is actually 0.7% more than the general inflation rate. So that's really a problem. But when you actually unpack what's going on with food prices, you realize that categories dependent on domestic production are pushing prices higher. So, and I'm thinking of meat, dairy, vegetables in October, lots of local products. So when it comes to vegetables in October, so this is concerning. So in other words, imported food is actually helping us at the grocery store, and the food we produce in Canada is pushing prices higher.
Why is that? What seems to be leading to that then?
I just think that it's the level of competitiveness. Right now, what we're seeing is that in Canada, we're implementing more rules, more regulations. I know that consumers want that. They want to feel protected, and that's good, but it comes at a price. While in the U.S., for example, we're going in a different direction, especially with the new Trump administration. My guess is that there's going to be less bureaucracy. Energy costs will be lower as well, and that's going to make the agri-food sector in America more competitive compared to ours. And so that's why, and of course, we all know what's going on with the Canadian dollar. If the Canadian dollar drops, then imported foods will likely increase in price as well. So I'm a bit concerned about what happened this week with the CPI report. Yeah,
I mean, that sounds like kind of a double whammy from that side of things. But you also just mentioned energy prices. And of course, energy prices is one of the big inputs when it comes to food, because of course, a lot of it needs to get delivered, not only, to the distribution centers, but then to the stores as well. Gas prices, in fact, came down in the latest, which we always thought, oh, gas prices are up, our food prices are going to be up. But the inverse happened in the latest report as well.
That's right. Yeah, they're still relatively high, and other costs have gone up. Wages have gone up, of course, and other issues as well have actually creeped up. And we know that our fiscal regime in Canada, from farm gate to plate, is getting heavier and more cumbersome for the agri-food sector. And so that's the one thing that I think we need to discuss as a country. I mean, do we want a competitive agri-food sector? And if we do, we want to think differently about issues like the carbon tax, for example, or how we actually deal with gas emissions in general.
Well, here's an interesting one, and we don't really have the full details or complete picture of what's happening this morning, but we do understand the Prime Minister is going to be in the GTA today announcing some sort of a GST sort of pause or holiday kind of heading into the Christmas season here. Again, we don't know the specifics about, what sectors of the, commerce industry we're going to be seeing here, but how do you think, or do you think that could help Canadians at all in terms of at grocery stores particularly?
It would help a lot. I mean, this is the hidden burden we all feel at the grocery store, but we don't see. A lot of people don't know that, when you walk into a grocery store, on average, about 4,600 products are taxed at retail. That's an extra 15%. And most people don't take their receipts. So when they see the total, they see, oh my goodness, prices have gone up. But a lot of that money is not going to grocers. It's going to either Queen's Park or Ottawa. And we're starting to hear governments realizing or acknowledging that it's an issue. In Nova Scotia, there's a campaign going on, and the government has actually promised to reduce the retail price there by 1%. So you can see that people are starting to notice and are starting to speak out, saying, well, okay, so we've been talking about greed over the last 2-3 years, but what about governments? What can they do to help us?
Okay, we'll see what kind of help potentially is on the way today. That is the director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, Sylvain Charlebois. Always appreciate the time. I know we're talking in a couple of weeks for your kind of Christmas report. We'll look forward to that. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care,
Talk
Nick.
soon.